It started with laughter echoing off the marble floors of the terminal. I could smell cinnamon rolls, cheap perfume, and someone's open travel shampoo. My hands were still sticky from the orange juice I'd spilled in the car, my heart hammering for a reason I couldn't name. Dad's face glistened with sweat. My sister Rachel was already glued to her phone, giggling as she texted her boyfriend Travis. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. We were supposed to be heading for the gate, one big family vacation. For once, I'd actually believed I belonged. Dad had insisted, "This year, Jade, you come too." Mom even said she'd miss her book club just to see me enjoy myself for a change. Yeah, right. But just as the announcement for boarding rang out, Dad turned to me. "Give me your ticket, Jade." My breath caught. What? Why? He didn't even look at me. Rachel's boyfriend got waitlisted. He can't fly standby. He's family, Jade. Don't be selfish. Rachel didn't say a word, didn't meet my eyes. She took my boarding pass from Dad's outstretched hand and pressed it into Travis's palm. Not a hint of apology. Travis grinned, stuffing it in his pocket, barely hiding his relief. "Sorry, Jade. You'll catch the next flight, right?" I stood there frozen, the overhead lights flickering like faulty hopes. My suitcase felt heavier than ever. Dad wrapped an arm around Mom, pulling her close as they hustled Rachel and Travis toward the gate. "You understand, right, honey?" he called over his shoulder. "Family helps family." The final call for boarding echoed. I stood there with my mouth open, surrounded by 1,000 strangers and my own humiliation. Rachel blew me a kiss. Travis didn't look back. I could feel every eye in the terminal shift away. Embarrassed for me, but nobody said a word. Minutes later, the group chat pinged. "Rachel, can you believe Jade just let me take her spot? What a saint." "Dad, she always was the understanding one." I didn't cry. I didn't run. I just clenched my jaw and watched as my family disappeared down the jetway, all smiles like I'd never existed. I could almost hear their laughter fade, replaced by the buzz of a cleaning cart and a toddler's wail. That was the moment something snapped inside me. I walked out of the terminal, dragging my suitcase through slush and exhaust fumes. My phone vibrated again. A new message from Dad. "Get home safe. Maybe next year." I didn't go home. I didn't even look back. I booked a ride, heart pounding with anger and something sharp that felt like freedom. This wasn't over, not even close. The week crawled by. My family sent group photos, Rachel and Travis on the beach, Dad holding a fruity drink, Mom sunburned but smiling. No mention of me, except when Rachel tagged me in a post. "Missing you, sis." Just to rub it in, they had no idea what I was planning. Because if they wanted to act like I was invisible, then they'd better learn what it felt like to be powerless. So, while they boarded their connecting flight, I made my own call. The kind of call that changes everything, especially for people who think you're too soft to ever fight back. All I needed was one tiny detail Dad had forgotten. Whose name was really on the credit card that paid for this trip, and who had just come into a quiet inheritance, no thanks to them. I booked a ticket, first class, and then I booked something even bigger. By the time my family touched down in Miami, the real show was just getting started. Miami's humidity hit them like a slap. Rachel's hair frizzed instantly, Travis fumbled with his sunglasses, and Dad muttered something about the car rental line being third world slow. Mom was already scanning for a bellhop, her lips pursed tight. Their flight had landed an hour late. Typical. Rachel was live streaming their arrival for her followers, twirling in her neon dress, aiming for that vacation glow. Travis grinned behind her, a tourist in cargo shorts, clutching the rental keys like a golden ticket. Dad barked at the shuttle driver, then gathered the family, waving his phone like a baton. "We'll head straight to the Grand Floridian," he announced. "Rachel, grab your mother's bag." Rachel rolled her eyes, dumped her own purse on Travis, and dragged Mom's oversized floral suitcase over the curb. No one mentioned me. They'd spent the whole flight posting about family time, painting a picture for the world, but the empty space at Dad's side wasn't even noticed. The drive to the hotel was a blur of palm trees and neon signs. Inside the van, Mom retouched her lipstick, Rachel scrolled TikTok, and Dad pontificated about how a little authority got you the best rooms in any hotel. Travis just nodded, eager to please. They pulled up to the Grand Viridian, five-star, oceanfront, towering over the sand like a palace. A row of gleaming SUVs lined the entrance, bellhops in pressed uniforms hustling luggage through gold-framed doors. Dad strode in, chest puffed out, the rest trailing behind. He relished moments like this. Being the provider, Rachel filmed the chandeliers. Travis whistled. Mom slipped into her practiced smile. Dad cut through the crowd and slapped his palm on the counter. Reservation for the Miller family. 5 rooms. Ocean view. The clerk, sharp suit, name tag reading Diego, flashed a tight smile. Of course, Mr. Miller. Could I see your identification? Dad slid his license across, already peering over Diego's shoulder at the wall of room keys. Should be under Miller. All-inclusive. Booked last month. Diego clicked, away at his computer. He paused, frowned, and typed again. Dad huffed. Is there a problem? A pause. Diego looked up. I'm sorry, sir. There is a reservation here, but the booking is under a different name. Rachel rolled her eyes. It's Miller. Double check. Diego nodded, unruffled. Yes, Miss Miller. The rooms were reserved by a Ms. Jade Miller. A silent beat. Dad laughed, loud, forced. That's my daughter. She's not coming. Had to back out last minute. Diego smiled politely, but it didn't reach his eyes. I understand. But per our records, Ms. Jade Miller not only reserved the rooms, but also paid for exclusive use of the penthouse floor. In addition, she instructed us to ensure that only guests on her list are given room keys. The air in the lobby shifted. Rachel stopped filming. Travis let out a low whistle. Glancing at Dad, Mom's smile faltered. Wait, what? She didn't tell us that. There must be a mistake. Diego kept his eyes on Dad. Would you like me to call Miss Miller to verify, or shall I fetch the manager? Dad's face reddened. Number, just give us our keys. She's our daughter. She'll understand. Diego shook his head. I'm truly sorry, sir. But unless Miss Miller authorizes your check-in, I cannot release the keys. Rachel's voice was barely a whisper now. She's here? In Miami? The elevator chimed across the lobby. The family turned, expecting to see a stranger step out. Instead, I emerged, hair still wine-tousled, suitcase rolling behind me, wearing the confidence I'd always pretended to have. My heart thundered, but I forced myself to hold Dad's gaze. Dad's jaw tightened. Rachel's face went pale. Mom looked like she'd swallowed a stone. Travis, for once, seemed lost for words. I stopped at the desk, nodding to Diego. Everything ready? He smiled, relief flashing in his eyes. Yes, Miss Miller. Your suite is prepared, and the other penthouse rooms await your guests. I handed over a list. None of my family's names on it. Only those on this list. No exceptions. Dad sputtered. You can't be serious, Jade. I met his eyes. Steady, calm, cold. Family helps family, right, Dad? You made your choice at the gate. I'm making mine now. The line behind us had gone silent, travelers craning to catch every word. Rachel's phone hung limply from her fingers, forgotten. Mom stepped forward, her voice trembling. Jade, honey, let's not make a scene. I shook my head, lips barely quivering. No scene, Mom. I just learned something this week. About power and respect. You traded my place for convenience. Now you can see how it feels to be left behind. Diego slid a heavy, gold-embossed keycard into my palm. You're sweet, Ms. Miller. I thanked him, then turned to face my family. Enjoy the lobby. It's got a beautiful view. If you can stand watching other people come and go. Rachel opened her mouth, but no. Words came. Dad's fists clenched at his sides. Travis shuffled, already stepping away from the conflict. I strode past them, each step lighter than the last, refusing to look back. For once, the one left behind wasn't me. The lobby felt colder after I left. Rachel stared at the marble floor, blinking fast. Dad muttered something sharp under his breath, and Mom started arguing with the desk clerk, her voice climbing. But Diego just kept repeating the rules, polite but unmovable. Travis, do something, Rachel hissed, grabbing his arm. But Travis just shrugged. I mean, maybe we should call Jade. She's the only one who can get us in. Dad's face was red, his jaw tight. He pulled out his phone and dialed my number, pacing in front of the windows as if he owned the place. The call rang and rang. I watched from my suite's balcony above, phone on silent, eyes burning with a mix of anger and satisfaction. I poured myself a glass of water, hands still shaking. This was supposed to feel like victory, but instead I felt raw, almost hollow. Was this what power tasted like? Or just a kind of emptiness? A knock at my door snapped me out of it. It was Diego, smiling more warmly now. "Ms. Miller, just checking that everything's to your liking?" I nodded. "It's perfect. Thank you." He paused, lowering his voice. "Your family? They're still downstairs. The father is asking if you'd reconsider." I thought about it. For years, I'd been the one left out, the one asked to sacrifice, the one told to understand. I owed them nothing. I shook my head. "They'll figure something out." Back in the lobby, Dad's frustration finally spilled over. "She's bluffing. She wouldn't just lock us out." He tried calling again, straight to voicemail. Rachel slumped onto a velvet chair, furious. "This is humiliating. All these people are staring." Mom's composure cracked. She turned on Dad. "You said Jade would understand. Now what?" Dad glared at the elevator, teeth clenched. "She'll come around. She's always been too soft." But this time, I wasn't. Hours passed. The sun set over Miami, painting the sky in colors they could only see from the hotel parking lot. They sat, watched, and waited. No suite, no ocean view, just the hard edge of being left out. I stood at the window, watching the city lights flicker on, feeling something change inside me. The story wasn't over. In fact, the real confrontation hadn't even started. Tomorrow, the entire hotel would know exactly why the Miller family had no place to stay, and why I'd finally stopped forgiving. The next morning, news of the family drama in the lobby had spread. Hotel staff whispered. Guests stared when they passed Rachel and Mom, who'd spent the night on a worn-out lobby couch. Dad barely slept, pacing until sunrise, scowling at every manager who walked by. Meanwhile, I took breakfast on the balcony, sunlight streaming in. For once, I let myself enjoy it. I could see Dad below, gesturing wildly at his phone, no doubt ranting about ungrateful children. Rachel sobbed quietly, shielding her face from her followers on Instagram Live. She didn't want anyone to see her like this. By noon, Travis was fed up. "I'm getting a room at another hotel," he snapped, shouldering his bag and leaving without a backward glance. Rachel's outrage was volcanic. She tried to chase after him, but Mom grabbed her wrist, hissing, "Not now. We need to fix this first." I finally decided to answer my phone. Dad's number flashed. I let it ring, then picked up. "Jade." His voice was hard, desperate. "Enough. You made your point. Come down here." I leaned against the railing. "My point or yours?" "Dad, you took my place and handed it away like I was nothing. You made it clear where I stand." His voice rose. "I'm your father. Family comes first." I almost laughed. "Family? When it suits you." A pause. For once, Dad was speechless. Mom took the phone. Her voice trembled. "Jade, please, you're hurting us. Just let us in." I closed my eyes, letting the ache hit for just a second. "You never saw me until you needed something." Rachel's voice, small and shaky, came next. "Jade, I'm sorry. I didn't think he'd actually go through with it." Silence. I took a breath. "I'm not shutting you out forever, but you're going to understand what it feels like to be left out. Maybe next time, you'll remember who you walked over." I hung up. Downstairs, Dad exploded, throwing his phone on the marble floor. Rachel started to cry, for real. Mom sat back, wiped her eyes, and stared at the ceiling, as if trying to disappear. I turned away from the window, heart pounding but lighter. For the first time, I felt like I'd taken control of my story. The staff knocked, asking if I wanted the spa reserved. I smiled and said yes. For the Millers, the vacation had just begun, but not the way they planned. The day crawled by for the Millers. Dad grew quieter, the fight draining out of him. Mom tried everything, pleading with staff, calling hotel management, even trying to bribe Diego at the desk. But the answer stayed the same. Ms. Miller's instructions are clear. By evening, Rachel was red-eyed, hugging her knees on the lobby couch. She kept scrolling through old family pictures, her finger trembling. Mom finally snapped, "This is your fault, Greg. If you hadn't—" She stopped, defeated, her voice cracking in front of strangers. Dad finally stood up and stared at the glass doors leading out to the beach. He seemed smaller somehow, the old arrogance replaced by something hollow. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone again, and this time, instead of anger, his voice was low. "Jade, if you want us to leave, we'll go. I just want you to know, I'm sorry. I never thought about how it felt. I really am sorry. He hung up, not waiting for an answer. It was the first real apology I'd ever heard from him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head. The airport, the lobby, every time I'd been pushed aside for the good of the family. I realized power wasn't just locking them out, it was making them see me, finally, as someone with a voice. I called Diego, let them have rooms, one each, nothing fancy, but put my name on the door. The Millers were led upstairs, silent, each opening their door to see my name in gold script on the keycards. For the first time, the rooms were a gift, not a right. The next morning, Rachel knocked at my suite. She didn't say anything at first, just threw her arms around me and sobbed. I'm sorry, Jade. I didn't mean for any of this. We sat together for a long time. No speeches, just the quiet of people who understood too late. Dad never said much, but I saw him looking at me differently, like he was really seeing me for the first time. Mom made breakfast plans and for once, actually waited for my answer. Our family would never be perfect, but they'd never forget what it meant to be on the outside looking in. When the vacation ended, I checked out first, handing my key to Diego with a smile. Thanks for treating me like I mattered. He nodded, handing me a note, handwritten by Dad. Thank you for reminding me what family is supposed to mean. I left Miami lighter, with a new sense of myself. I wasn't the family doormat anymore. I was Jade Miller, and finally, I was home, wherever I chose to be. You're giving him my car? My voice came out flat, cold. Dad dangled the keys in front of Dylan, smirking. Family helps family, Casey. Your brother needed it. Don't look at me like that. You're married now, aren't you? Let your husband drive you. Dylan's laughter was careless as he caught the keys, tossing them in the air, already showing off in front of the cousins crowded around the kitchen island. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. My mother's tight, guilty smile, my aunt's quick glance away, even Dylan's girlfriend awkwardly pretending to scroll her phone. It was humiliating. 5 years of saving, every late shift and canceled plan, and it was gone in a moment because my father decided my brother needed it more. Alex was leaning against the doorframe, silent, arms folded. His face was hard and still. When I turned, he met my gaze. No pity. Just that silent message we always shared when things got ugly at family gatherings. I've got you. Dad's voice boomed across the kitchen. Well, are you going to congratulate your brother or just stand there sulking? He actually looked proud of himself. I kept my hands at my sides, refusing to let them see they were shaking. Dylan grinned at me, dangling the keys. You can take a ride if you ask nicely, sis. The room filled with cheap laughter. My jaw locked. I stared straight at my father. I hope you enjoy the car, Dylan, I said, even in quiet, then turned to Alex and reached for his hand. His grip was fierce, steadying. Alex stepped forward, calm but ice cold. You know that was Casey's money, right? Her name was on the account. Dad didn't flinch. My house, my rules. You want something done different? Maybe you should learn to keep your money somewhere else, or maybe just earn more. He looked Alex up and down, clearly itching for a fight. We'll see who's laughing tomorrow, Alex said, his voice low enough that only the family could hear, but sharp enough to cut through the noise. Mom's face went pale. For a second, nobody moved. I turned, pushing past Dylan and the rest, feeling the burn of shame across my cheeks, but refusing to let a single tear fall in front of them. Out in the hallway, I could hear them start up again. Dylan cracking open a beer, Dad already bragging about teaching responsibility, the cousins whispering. My mother's footsteps followed, her voice dropping. Casey, he didn't mean... I stopped her. I don't want to hear it. Not tonight. She opened her mouth, closed it, then retreated back into the kitchen. Alex was already on his phone by the time I made it to the car, his old, beat-up sedan, the one he'd bought off Craigslist in college. We're not letting them walk all over you. Not now, not ever. He spoke quietly, but every word felt like a promise. Trust me, by morning this will be different. I didn't know what he meant, and honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted to disappear, or scream, or both. Instead, I drove home in silence, hands clenched around the wheel. every mile between me and that house making my anger grow sharper. Back at our place, Alex paced the living room, phone glued to his ear, making calls, jotting down notes, talking to people I'd never heard of. I tried to sleep, but my mind kept replaying every word, every sneer, every laugh. The humiliation was radioactive. He came to bed just before dawn. "You'll want to be awake early," was all he said, and kissed my forehead. I barely slept at all. By sunrise, the world outside was strangely still, the air tense and waiting. I watched Alex get dressed, moving with a kind of determination that made me nervous. "Get ready," he said. "This is the last day they ever think they can treat you like this." I glanced at my phone, group chat blowing up with photos of Dylan posing by his new car. Dad's text sat unread. "I hope you've learned something about real family." My reply would have to wait, because by the time the sun was fully up, Alex was already ushering me out the door, and what happened next would flip everything upside down. We pulled up to my parents' house just after 7. The street was quiet except for my brother's new car gleaming in the driveway, already drawing glances from the neighbors out walking their dogs. Alex killed the engine and looked at me, his eyes steady. "Stay with me. No matter what happens, you let me handle it." I nodded, nerves twisted tight. My mother was on the porch in her robe, coffee mug in hand, lips pressed thin. She didn't wave. Inside, voices were already rising. Dad was on the phone, bragging to someone about how he sorted out Casey's priorities, while Dylan shouted for someone to check out his car's new sound system. As soon as we stepped in, the room went quiet. Dad looked up, phone still to his ear, and sneered. "Oh, the prodigal daughter returns. Come to see your generous donation on the road?" Alex didn't flinch. "Call everyone into the living room." He sounded calm, but there was steel behind it. "Now." Something in his tone made even my father obey. Dylan swaggered in, tossing the keys from hand to hand, his girlfriend at his heels. My aunt and cousins shuffled over, eyes flickering with confusion. Mom hovered by the door, arms crossed tight. Alex stood in front of them all, his hands in his pockets. "Let's make something clear. Casey worked for that money. It was her savings. What you did yesterday wasn't just cruel. It was illegal." The room bristled. Dad scoffed. "You're threatening your own family over a car?" Alex held up a folder I hadn't seen before. "Here's the bank statement. Casey's name is the only one on that account. The money was transferred without her consent by someone who isn't the account holder. That's fraud." Dylan's mouth hung open. Dad's face darkened. "You wouldn't dare. This is family business." Alex's voice was ice. "You want to test that? I already spoke to the bank. I spoke to a lawyer. I even filed a police report this morning. If the money isn't returned by noon, and the car's back where it belongs, they'll be coming here. Today." The silence was suffocating. Even Mom's face went white. My aunt muttered, "Is he serious?" Dylan fumbled for his phone, suddenly pale. Dad's mask cracked for just a moment, and in that silence, I finally saw fear in his eyes. Alex turned to me. "This is your call, Casey. If you want to drop it, say the word. But if you want to see this through, I'm with you." Every step, everyone stared at me. Every eye, every ounce of judgment. I felt anger twist and curl, finally boiling over. "No," I said, voice shaking with adrenaline. "I'm not letting this go, not this time. I'm done being the one who just takes it." Dad's voice broke, desperate now. "Casey, this is just a misunderstanding. Your brother needed help. Don't make this bigger than it is." I didn't answer. Alex put an arm around me. "You heard her. Noon, or the cops show up." We turned and left, slamming the door behind us. Outside, the neighbors had started gathering, peeking over hedges and from behind cars, drawn by the shouting and the tension thick in the air. By the time we reached our car, my phone buzzed. Calls from Mom, texts from Dylan, even a half-baked apology from Dad. But it wasn't over. Not yet. We drove back to our apartment, the city rolling by in a blur of brick storefronts and morning haze. I stared out the window, numb, watching the world go on as if nothing had changed, while inside me, everything felt like it was burning. Alex squeezed my hand every so often, checking that I was still with him. I'd never seen him like that before, so cold, so unshakable. My heart felt heavy and light at the same time. For years, I'd let my father decide what I deserved. For years, I'd let everyone laugh, let it all slide. Not today. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. My mother called 5 times, then left a message in a trembling voice. "Casey, please, let's talk about this as a family." you're overreacting. Dylan's texts were a blur of swearing, blaming me for ruining his one good thing, accusing me of being selfish. Even my aunt, who always claimed to understand me, texted, "Please, sweetheart, think about how this looks to everyone. He's your brother. Your father's not a bad man." The whole family, it seemed, was more worried about how things looked than what was right. Alex set down his coffee, anger flashing in his eyes. "They only care about their comfort, not about you. That's going to change." He was already on the phone with the lawyer again, making sure the paperwork was in order, reviewing every detail of the police report. I heard him say, "We have evidence, timeline, account records, everything. She's pressing charges if it comes to that." It all felt surreal. Part of me wanted to back down, crawl back into the shell of old habits, call it off before it went too far, but the memory of Dad's smirk, Dylan's laughter, my mother's empty apologies, they lit something in me that wouldn't go out. By 10, the messages shifted from guilt to threats. Dad texted, "If you bring the police here, don't bother coming home again." Dylan, "You're dead to me, Casey." Even Mom, "Don't do this to your father. He's only ever wanted what's best for you." Alex saw my face and shook his head. "This is what abusers do. They make you feel responsible for their choices. Not this time. You're not alone." We sat together on the couch, tension filling the air, minutes dragging by, every tick of the clock louder than the last. My whole body was buzzing, like every nerve ending was raw. I kept reading the same texts over and over, memorizing their words, burning them into me. At 11, the lawyer called. "They're stalling," she said. "Your father keeps saying he needs more time." I told him, "You have all the evidence. If the car isn't returned by noon and the money's not wired back, the report goes straight to the police chief. I suggest you prepare for fireworks." Alex grinned, and for the first time all day, I laughed. A sharp, angry, exhilarating sound. I hadn't felt that alive in years. At 11:40, Mom called again. This time, her voice was shaky, desperate. "Casey, your father's furious. Dylan's refusing to give the car back. Can't you just let this go? He says if you do this, the whole neighborhood will know. Your father could lose his job. Please, think of the family." I almost hung up, but something in me snapped. He should have thought of the family before he stole from me. "Mom, I'm not a doormat, not anymore." She burst into tears, sobbing into the phone. "You've always been so stubborn, Casey. Why can't you just forgive and move on? Don't make us choose between you and your brother." That line hit me like a punch in the gut. I stood up, walked to the window, stared down at the street below. "You already did, Mom. You chose a long time ago. Now it's my turn?" She kept crying, begging me to change my mind, but I ended the call. Alex looked at me, proud and sad all at once. "That was the hardest part. Now you just hold the line." Noon crept closer, the world outside growing brighter, hotter. I heard sirens in the distance, dogs barking, a car backfiring. Every sound made my heart jump. At 11:57, my phone vibrated. One last message from Dad. "If you do this, you're not my daughter anymore. Don't come back." My hands shook, but I didn't reply. I handed my phone to Alex. "I'm ready." He nodded and made the call. "This is Alex Marston. We'd like to proceed." Within minutes, everything that had been buried in our family for years was about to come to light. We didn't have to wait long. 20 minutes after Alex made the call, my phone buzzed again, this time from a number I didn't recognize. "Ms. Casey Everett, this is Officer Ramirez. We'd like you to meet us at your parents' address." My stomach flipped. Alex squeezed my shoulder. "Let's go." The drive felt unreal, like every mile was a countdown to something we couldn't turn back from. When we pulled up, I could already see the flashing lights. One squad car, parked just past Dylan's new ride. Two uniformed officers stood on the lawn, notepad in hand, talking to my mother, who looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Neighbors were everywhere, leaning on porches, standing on sidewalks, pretending to water lawns while they stared. My father's voice carried all the way to the street. "This is a family matter. There's no need for police. She's just being dramatic." Alex put a hand on my back, steady as a rock. We walked up together. Officer Ramirez turned to me. "Are you Ms. Everett?" I nodded, trying to keep my hands from shaking. "I need you to confirm the account details and the car. Do you have your ID?" I handed it over. She checked everything, glancing between me and my parents, then turned to Dylan. Sir, you're currently in possession of a vehicle purchased with funds belonging to your sister. We need the keys. Dylan went pale. You're kidding. She's really doing this? Over a stupid car? Dad stepped forward, red-faced and breathing hard. We're not criminals. I've paid for everything in this house since the day she was born. She owes us. Ramirez's partner, a younger officer, kept his voice low. Sir, if you do not comply, this becomes a criminal investigation. We have bank statements, text evidence, and a report filed by your daughter. Your employer will be notified as required. That shut him up. I caught a glimpse of my aunt peering out the window, her mouth hanging open. The rest of the family gathered on the lawn, huddled behind my mother as if that would protect them from reality. Dylan finally dropped the keys into Ramirez's hand. Whatever, take it. Hope you're happy, Casey. I didn't say a word. My father glared at me, hatred plain in his eyes. I hope you're proud of yourself. You humiliated us. You're not welcome here. Something inside me cracked open, but it wasn't pain anymore. It was relief. Alex squeezed my hand and stepped forward. You did this to yourselves. Maybe next time you'll think before you treat someone like garbage. The officers handed me the keys, then explained, in front of everyone, how the restitution would work. Dylan would have to pay back the money from his own account, or my father would face charges. Mom was sobbing, but no one tried to comfort her. They were all too busy trying to figure out what would happen to them next. I walked to the car, every neighbor watching. My hands shook, but I unlocked the door, sat behind the wheel, and let myself breathe for the first time in days. Alex slid into the passenger seat. You did it, he whispered. You stood up to all of them. Dad shouted after us. Don't ever come back. You're dead to me. I turned the key and drove away, every eye on me, my mother's wails echoing behind us. But I didn't look back. At the stop sign, I finally let myself cry, not from shame, but from the weight lifting off my chest. Alex reached over, wiping tears from my cheek. You're free now, Casey. Really free. We drove home in silence, hands clasped tight. And as the city opened up before us, I realized that the life I'd been holding onto, desperate for scraps of love from people who never gave it, was gone. In its place, something new was beginning, something fierce and unbreakable. The story exploded in our little town. By afternoon, it seemed like everyone knew what had happened. Neighbors, coworkers, even distant relatives started calling and messaging, some with gossip, others with genuine shock. My phone filled with a strange mix of support and judgment. A few friends texted, "Proud of you for standing up for yourself." Others just sent a single line. "Family's family. Case." I deleted those. That night, I sat with Alex on the living room floor, surrounded by the quiet hum of our apartment, the silence broken only by the occasional ping of my phone. We watched the headlights moving on the street outside, each one a reminder that life goes on. Alex poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to me. So, how does it feel? He asked, his voice gentle, searching my face. I tried to answer honestly, even as my heart trembled. I don't know, like I'm floating, like maybe for the first time, I'm actually living for myself. I looked at him, tears burning my eyes again, not from pain, but from something like relief, maybe even hope. I'm scared, Alex. What if I never get them back? What if I just end up alone? He took my hands, grounding me. You stood up for yourself, Casey. You showed them who you are. That's not something that leaves you alone. That's the kind of thing that changes everything. A few days passed, the silence from my family growing heavier, then lighter, then finally almost peaceful. I started walking to work again, old routines feeling new, each step lighter than the last. Dylan texted once, a single bitter line. Hope you're happy. You ruined everything. I left it unread. Mom called twice, voice softer now. No more pleading, just, I hope you're okay. I listened, then deleted the messages. I didn't need closure. From people who only ever wanted silence. The world didn't fall apart. I didn't collapse. In fact, something strange happened. I started to breathe easier. At work, I felt sharper, more respected. The fear that used to hang over me every time I opened a text from home, gone. The empty space left behind wasn't loneliness. It was room to grow. Alex was my anchor, never once questioning if I'd done the right thing. We celebrated quietly, just the two of us. Sometimes we laughed about the whole thing, the absurdity of adults behaving like children, the way people cared more about appearances than love. Mostly, though, we just moved forward. One evening, as the sun set pink behind the city skyline, Alex handed me a small envelope. Open it. Inside was a set of keys, a new car, bought together, this time in my name alone, no one else's. It's not just about the car, he said. It's about you owning your life. All of it. I hugged him hard, grateful and overwhelmed. I knew there'd always be scars from what my family did, but they didn't define me anymore. Weeks later, I saw my father at the grocery store. He walked by, eyes averted, pretending not to notice me. I didn't stop him. I didn't need to. As I left, I caught a glimpse of myself in the glass, standing tall, unashamed, stronger than I'd ever been. That was the real victory. Not the car, not the money. But the moment I realized I'd finally chosen myself, and I'd never let anyone take that away again. Alex squeezed my hand as we walked to our car, my car, and for the first time, I believed I deserved every bit of the life I was building. The sun was setting, painting everything gold, and for the first time in forever, I was truly free.